I stared at the perfectly set dinner table, watching steam curl from the Sunday roast. The scent of rosemary and thyme hung heavy in the air, comforting. But tonight, it felt like a mask. "Emily, pass the potatoes," my father said, eyes fixed ahead. That cold, clipped tone again, like I was an obligation, not a daughter. I was 32, single, and, to them, a failure, the black sheep of the distinguished Williams family. What they didn't know was that I'd spent 6 years quietly building something of my own, something real. "Did you hear about Marcus?" my mother said, gesturing to my brother with a pride polished to perfection. "He made junior partner, youngest ever." Marcus gave me that familiar smirk. At 29, he was the blueprint, law school, prestige, and the kind of charm that never had to prove itself. "That's great," I said, slicing into the roast. I felt their gaze, waiting for envy. I gave them none. My father cleared his throat. "Speaking of success, we need to talk about the house." My chest tightened. I'd known this was coming. Ever since I left my corporate job to start my own real estate firm, they'd treated it like a childish rebellion, a phase. But I'd turned that gamble into 12 properties across 3 states, all without a word to them. "The house isn't yours, Emily," he said. "It's time Marcus had a real home, somewhere to start a family." I set my fork down. "I see. Don't play dumb," Marcus snapped. "You've been freeloading long enough. Time to hand over the keys." My mother chimed in, her voice smooth but sharp. "We've consulted the family lawyer. Your grandmother wasn't well when she made that will. It's time to correct her mistake." The jab stung more than I expected. Grandma had understood me, seen me in a way none of them ever had. My father pulled out a document and laid it on the table. "Sign this. It puts the house back in the family trust." I looked at the paper, then up at them. "And if I don't?" Marcus laughed. You can't afford to fight us. You can't even afford that house." What they didn't know was that the mortgage had been paid off 3 years ago, by me. "We're giving you 3 months, my mother added. "Maybe you can rent something near your cleaning lady." I set my teaspoon down, the china ringing like a bell. They never respected Maria. They didn't know she was my first business partner. "The house is mine," I said quietly, "legally, morally." My father's face darkened. "Then you leave us no choice." He stood, looming. "Leave the keys. We'll let the lawyers handle it." I looked around the table, my father radiating entitlement, my mother with that brittle smile, Marcus already victorious. I reached into my purse, pulled out the keys my grandmother gave me with her final breath, and placed them gently on the table. "Thank you for dinner," I said, "and for making this easy." "Easier?" Marcus scoffed. "You're being kicked out." I smiled. "We'll see." At the door, my father called after me. "Don't bother fighting this, Emily. You don't have the money. No bank will touch you." I paused, thinking of the contracts in my office, of the plan I set in motion the moment I caught wind of this coup. "Good night," I said, and shut the door behind me. In my car, I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to my lawyer. "It's time. Execute tomorrow." I drove back to my home and waited. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my office window. The grandfather clock struck 8:57. 3 minutes. My phone buzzed. A message from Maria. "They just pulled in. They look furious." I smiled. Perfect timing. At exactly 9 a.m., the doorbell rang. Then the pounding began. "Emily," my father shouted, "open this door right now." I leaned back in my chair, calm and composed. The wheels were already turning. They'd underestimated me. Tomorrow, they'd understand exactly what I'd built while they weren't looking. An empire. I pressed the intercom. "I'm in a meeting. Please wait in the parlor. Maria will let you in." I could almost hear the sharp inhale of my mother's disapproval, being greeted by the housekeeper. How humiliating. But they had no choice now. As they settled into the parlor, my phone buzzed. "Robert Chen, Highland Mortgage. Everything's gone through," he said. "Just spoke with your father. Let's say, he's not taking the news well." "I didn't expect him to," I replied, calm. "Thanks, Robert." I opened my laptop and glanced at the portfolio dashboard. Everything was in order. 6 years of work, quiet acquisitions, late nights, and strategic silence leading to this. The parlor doors burst open. My father strode in, face flushed, phone in hand. "What the hell is this?" he barked. "Highland says the mortgage is in your company's name. They said you own this house, and half the Heights district?" Behind him, my mother clutched her handbag like a lifeline. Marcus trailed in, the smugness wiped clean from his face. I turned my laptop toward them. "Have a seat. There's a lot to cover." "Explain yourself," Marcus snapped. "You've been lying to us." "No," I said evenly. "You've been lying to yourselves." I clicked to the first document, the original deed. "When grandmother left me the house, you all assumed I'd fail. What you didn't know was that she also left me her investment strategy, her notes, her vision." My mother sank into an armchair, her voice cracked. "But you've been working from home. No office, no staff." I pulled up the next screen, a satellite map of the Heights. Nearly 50 properties glowed in blue. "That's Williams Capital Investment Group," I said. "My company. Every blue dot is one of ours." My father's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's impossible. That's 47 properties," I said, "including the building where Marcus's law firm rents their top floor. I acquired it last year through a subsidiary." "That renovation your firm liked so much? My design?" Marcus sat heavily, stunned. "The merger meeting room." I nodded. "My manager said you were impressed." My father was still staring at the screen. "The mortgage, $780,000. Paid off 3 years ago." I finished. "In full. The house has belonged to my company since then. I just let you believe otherwise. It was easier." "How?" My mother choked out. "Where did you get that kind of capital?" I thought of Maria, of peeling paint and broken plumbing and late nights poring over comps. "I started small. A foreclosed duplex. Maria helped me renovate it. We flipped it for triple, then scaled. She owns 15% of the company." My mother blinked. "Maria, the housekeeper?" "My business partner." I showed them the current valuation. My mother gasped. "That's more than the family trust?" "Yes, by a wide margin." My father adjusted his tie, defaulting to strategy. "Why tell us now?" "Because I needed to know. If you'd really try to take the house. If you'd really choose Marcus over me again." I paused. "And you did." I crossed to the window. The garden outside shimmered in the late morning sun, where I used to sit with a sketchpad, dreaming of something bigger. I turned back. "You can stay in the family properties, of course, but going forward, there will be lease agreements, market rate rent, formal contracts." "You're charging us rent?" my mother said, aghast. "The same way you were ready to evict me. Business is business, right, father?" Marcus stood abruptly. "The lawyers will. They work for me now," I said, cutting him off. "I acquired their building last year. I'm their biggest client." Silence fell, cold and absolute. My father finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "What do you want?" "Respect," I said simply. "Not as your daughter, you've made your feelings clear, but as the woman who built something real." I handed them each a folder, new lease terms, clearly outlined. "You have until Friday. After that, I'll open these properties to other interested tenants." Marcus's expression darkened. "You wouldn't." I smiled. "I've already had offers from firms competing with yours. They'd love that top floor suite." They left, clutching the folders like life preservers. As they stepped into the hallway, I heard my mother whisper, "Did you know? Did you suspect?" My father's reply was low, stunned. "No, we never really looked." I sat down again. Maria entered with a mug of tea. "They see you now," she said. I took a breath, nodding. "They see the power," I said. "Not me, not yet, but maybe now. They'll start looking." My phone buzzed. New inquiries, new deals, new expansion. The family drama could wait. I had a company to run, and a legacy to honor. Now they were selling their entire portfolio to me. Funny how quickly things change when people realize who really holds the power. At exactly 2 p.m., Marcus arrived. He looked different, less polished, less invincible, more human. The old swagger was gone. "Nice office," he said, scanning the room. "Better than my firm's." "Your firm's lease is up for renewal next month," I replied, motioning to the chair across from me. "We should talk about that." He sat down slowly. That's actually part of why I'm here, he said. The merger fell through. Clients backed out after they learned who really owns the building. I tilted my head. And? I'm being let go, he admitted. Turns out having your landlord as your estranged sister makes people nervous. I leaned back. Let it hang there. What do you want, Marcus? He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous tic from childhood. I guess I want to understand. How did you pull it off? All of it? Right under our noses? I thought of all the dinners, all the condescending smiles, the backhanded compliments, the way they praised him while barely seeing me. I learned from grandmother, I said, not just real estate, strategy, patience, how to let people underestimate you long enough to become undeniable. She always said you were different, he murmured. Special? I asked, half smiling. I figured you all just thought she was being sentimental with the underachieving granddaughter. Everyone did. Exactly. I opened my laptop and pulled up the document I'd prepared for this conversation. Your firm isn't failing because of family drama, I said. It's failing because it's outdated. Weak client acquisition, outmoded billing, lazy market research. He blinked. How do you know all that? Because I study every tenant, every competitor, every opportunity. I turned the screen toward him. This is a breakdown of where your firm is bleeding and how to stop it. He stared at the numbers. Why show me this? Because I'm offering you a job. His eyes widened. You want me to work for you? With me, I corrected, as head of legal for Williams Capital. But let's be clear, this isn't about family. It's business. You'll earn your place, or lose it, like anyone else. I slid the contract across the desk. He stared. Does father know? Father doesn't make my decisions anymore. Neither does mother. That's the first thing you'll have to understand if you accept. He picked up the document. His instincts kicked in, scanning clauses, terms, fine print. The base salary's lower than what I'm used to. The base is, I agreed, but the equity is far more valuable. Build ownership, not just income. Another lesson from grandmother. He gave a half smile. She taught you well. She taught me that real power isn't loud, it's deliberate, built while no one's paying attention. He signed without another word, no negotiation, a first. As he rose to leave, he paused at the door. I'm sorry, Emily, for everything. I know, I said softly. Now prove it. Help me build something bigger. That evening, I brought fresh flowers to grandmother's grave. The wind tugged at my coat as I sat on the bench we used to share. You were right, I whispered, about patience, about silence, about letting them believe what they wanted until the truth became impossible to ignore. I told her about Marcus, the expansion, the empire her wisdom had seeded. I like to think she would have been proud, not just of what I built, but how I built it. My phone buzzed. A message from mother. Sunday dinner? At your place? A shift, a surrender, a quiet acknowledgement of the new world. I typed back, yes. Let them come. Let them sit at my table, in my home, inside my success. Let them see what was always there, a woman they dismissed who turned silence into strategy, and strategy into an empire. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one building the strongest foundation. Sometimes the girl they underestimated becomes the force they can't afford to ignore. And sometimes, silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. I looked up at the darkening sky, the city stretching beneath me like a board I'd already won. Thank you, grandmother. Then I turned back toward the car, toward expansion, toward deals, toward the future. Not for them. Never again for them. But for me, and for every underestimated soul who learned how to make power in the quiet. Because I wasn't just Emily anymore. I was the architect of an empire. And I built it while they weren't looking.